Hey, friends, family, partners, Matt Beamer here for our monthly live Q&A, Facebook Live Q&A. We do this every month so that you can ask questions, and we've got some good ones today, some funny ones, the couple funny stories that are attached to them, and I look forward to sharing those with you. But before I get into that, I want to share with you a little bit about goal setting and things. As we come to the end of the year, we do this every year. I taught my kids to do this from, basically from the time they can talk. I remember one time, little Elizabeth, when she was with her cousins visiting in the U.S. one time, and she must have been 5 years old, and she's kind of like, talking to him like, "What are your goals in life? Like, what do you want to achieve?" and they're kind of like, "What? We just want to watch cartoons." And so the kids didn't like it that I made them do this when they did it, but now it's paid off in dividends. They are incredible in achieving so much, and really a big part of it comes down to writing, like the Bible says. Hate to bring up the Bible, but write the vision, make it plain. But that's pretty broad. And it really is challenging for a lot of people to just start writing vision. You end up like, you can start with a bucket list. Like, what are all the things you'd love to do? I track a bucket list on my phone. I'll be someplace and I'll see something like, for example, in the news or something. I think so for example, I remember, I think I was on an airplane and I saw an advertisement for one of the best restaurants in the world. And I thought, I'm going to put that on my bucket list. I'd like to go to that restaurant sometime, in a particular, best restaurants in that particular country I was going to. And just different things like that. So you can do that. You can brainstorm what you'd like to achieve in life, but you really need to move to the place where you become intentional in life with goal setting. And goals are just hope unless you put a date and you put it on a timeline and you start breaking it down into small steps and working towards it. The other key is having balance. And so, I've said many times that you never want to get to the end of your life climbing the ladder of success to find out you put the ladder against the wrong wall. And we don't want to do that. I remember one time when I was pastoring in England, I mentioned that I was teaching a little bit along these lines. This is probably 20 years ago or more. And afterwards, a person who was a business person, successful business person, came up and said, "You know what? That's not left me. I want to talk to you about how I make my life count for eternity." And we sat down, and by the end of that conversation, he was willing to sell his house in the suburbs to move closer to where the church was, which was inner city, buy a house he could pay cash for so that he could be close to the church and basically start volunteering for the church full time. So, I'm like, wow, that was a big step. And I've had other people come to me and say the same thing. I remember one time a guy came to me, he says, "I'm going to quit my job and come volunteer for you." And I'm like, "No, don't do that. I don't want to be responsible for that. You have a family of kids." So I said, "Go back to your work and see if they will." He's a very valuable employee, managed a retail outlet store, and had been there for 8 years. And he came back to him and he said, "Look," he said, "I want to make changes in my life, and I want to do something that makes an eternal impact." And so this was in England. And he's like, "I'd like to resign my work." Oh, what I had coached him is I said, "Go back and see if they'll let you have one day off a week, and then you can volunteer that one day." And when he did ask for that, they paid him full-time benefits and they paid him the same wage, but gave him the day off once a week so that he could donate that to work within the church. And he became my personal assistant and was that for many, many years. Now is no longer in England, is in another country doing incredible things for the Lord as well. Family is awesome and all of that. So, those people and those choices paint the picture of the fact that you can just keep every single year going from year to year and just keep doing the same old thing without really asking the critical questions of, am I doing the God thing? Am I doing the thing that I was designed for before the creation of the world? Am I doing the thing that God has purposed for me? And there's a lot of great goal setting stuff out there, but the goal setting stuff, like for example, in the old days, Stephen Covey and all of that was very, very helpful and very good. And now there's all kinds of new stuff. but very few of those things come from a Christian perspective. The Bible speaks into this. Philippians 2 and verse 13 says, "For it is God who works in you both to will and to do of his good pleasure." And there's several other scriptures. Hebrews 5:12, Ephesians 5:15 says, "Redeem the time." Romans 15, Paul says, "It is written." It is written. He had a mission statement, a purpose built from the fact that he'd seen himself in scriptures. So 1 Corinthians chapter 9 says, "I beat my body under, and I set my course, not as one who fights aimlessly or walks aimlessly or runs aimlessly, but I have a purpose to it." So there's so many different scriptures like that. And what I wanted to do is just draw attention to it. It's a good time, the first part of December, to begin thinking about. I began thinking about this from a ministry-wide setting in October, and we tried to talk all of our teams through taking stock and reviewing and beginning to set their priorities and SMART goals for the coming year, starting in October, so that by the time the end of mid-December comes, we have a pretty clear idea of where we're going in the next year or next 5 years, whatever it might be. But I do it personally. And one of the things that I found, which is very helpful for me, is establishing over the years, kind of working on this and crafting it. Every year it changed a little bit until I got it as concise as I possibly could. A statement that represents the purpose for my life, a mission statement, a purpose statement for my life, a life purpose statement. Why am I on this earth? And for me, it is, I live to make God smile. Everything, like in every area of life. In my relationships, I live to make God smile. In the calling he's called me to, I live to make him smile in my calling. Financially, I want to make him smile with my finances. My mind and my education, how I train and develop my mind, I want to make him smile with that. Physically, I want to make him smile. He's smiling a little bit more since Club 1040 Day and then Giving Tuesday. Giving Tuesday, as you know, was Thanksgiving, then we have Black Friday, Small Business Saturday, and then Sunday's the Lord's Day, and then Monday was Cyber Monday. So all those different days. Well, Giving Tuesday is the biggest giving day of the year. Literally billions of dollars are given by millions of people in the United States on that day alone. And so we like to make use of that. And so we the team and everybody did a great job, and we talked about having the final push. We had some goals that we established for the beginning of the year. We visited 30 churches to celebrate 30 years and to develop the support base from which will empower us towards the 2030 vision, which is seeing that which has happened in places like Nigeria and Lebanon and Egypt expand across all 22 countries in the Middle East and North Africa. And so we've made some progress towards those goals, but not as much as we need to. And so we're going to continue plugging away at those goals. But we thought, let's do a final push. And I had in September, I had done just set myself a goal all year long, celebrating 30 years. I did different things. So in September, I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to challenge myself to do 3,000 push-ups. And, we use the number 30 in a lot of different ways. So, for example, individual partner goals. That's a person, a household. Could be one person or it could be a family. Individual households. The goal is to have 300 new individual households. We're now up to 40, which is great. We're over that 10% mark, but we're still a long way to go. And so 30, 300, and then 30 organizations. In organizations, we're right at like 10. So we're about 30% of that goal, about 20 more to go. So anyway, I thought, what I'm going to do is, and I did it all year long. I'm like, I want to do 30 miles of this. I want to do, this. So I did, I'm going to do 3,000 push-ups in September. We turn officially 31 October 4th, Club 1040 Day. By the way, if you didn't see, on Club 1040 Day, we did a little different this year. Club 1040 Day. In fact, if you haven't seen it yet and you want to, you need to email admin@Club 1040 and request your special unique code for a confidential briefing. We have about an hour video montage of what we did on Club 1040 Day, where we had invite only VIP Zooms. And if you haven't accessed that and haven't seen it, you're going to want to see that, because that talks about where we're going, what we're doing next as we transition from Lebanon into the next season of our missionary calling. And it also you get an opportunity to meet the people whose lives you've impacted for all eternity through your partnership and prayers. So access that by emailing admin@clubton40.com, and they will get you the link for the video, but it's locked. You have to have a unique passcode. They will give you that as well. We did that because as we move forward, security is more and more an issue. So getting back to that, I set myself a goal to do in September 3,000 push-ups. And I did it. I hit the mark, 3,000 push-ups. I did push-ups every day, about 100 a day. I think 1 or 2 days I missed and I just made up. But anyway, so I thought, I jokingly said to the team while we were talking about what should we do for Giving Tuesday, I said we could do a thing where I calculated, I'm like, if we hit our goal from where we were at that time, I'm like, that means I have to do 13,500 push-ups if we achieve 30 organizations and 300 households. And I'm like, that's a lot of push-ups, but I'll do it. And so we called it the final push, and we made a big deal about it over the last 2 days. And I want to say thank you to everybody that gave. We had a number of one-time donors, so we appreciate that. And I'm going to, even though I said it's for monthly partners, I'm going to do some push-ups for you guys too. There's someone that gave $800. I'm going to do those 800 push-ups for you. Thank you so much. But we did get monthly partners, which totaled to right around, it's real close, not exactly, but somewhere around 247 or something like that, I think, if I remember right. I'm not looking at my notes right now. And I've done all those push-ups. In fact, I've done more than those push-ups. I've done 260, I think, something like that. So anyway, the final push is finished. It is finished, but you can still give and you can still become a partner this year. And anyway, so I wanted to, as far as Giving Tuesday, I wanted to give something back to you guys. And if you want to, I have notes, and I did a teaching on this a few years back. And then we revisit this, how to set your life purpose statement, how do you set goals, different things like that. But one of the things I want to talk about here before we finish is a key that I've come across, which it started with Stephen Covey's Sharpen the Saw, and he would talk about how, it's you have a saw to use, and really you are that saw in life, and there's like teeth on that saw. And he would talk about, if you don't take care of yourself physically, if you don't take care of yourself emotionally, I think he used mentally and spiritually as well, or no, relationships was one of them. There were 4 of them in Stephen Covey's training, but over the years, I realized I kind of evolved that. And because on a personal base, I don't talk about this when I teach, I talk about 7 teeth to sharpen your saw, 7 teeth on your saw that you can sharpen. There's 7 areas. And in the emotional side of me is not one of those areas. And the reason it's not one of those areas is because if I get these 7 areas right, then the emotional health and the emotional well-being just follows. It's a fruit of getting these other things right. So for those 7 areas are spiritually, relationally, physically, mentally, financially, calling, and fun. I put fun in there. And what these are designed for, and this is the principle that Stephen Covey was trying to teach, is you need to have something that helps give you balance. And so what his teaching is you take these, in our framework, 7 areas, you take these 7 areas and you then work backwards by setting goals of what you want to achieve in these 7 areas. You work backwards to what do I need to do this week towards 1 or 2 or 3 of those areas, and then the following week, to the other areas. So you're doing something. So for example, relationally, if you get to the end of your life and you are a success financially, but your relationships are a mess, what good is that? If you get to the end of your life and you're a success financially with work and, in this, maybe for example, your success, you become successful in politics, for example, and you've got renown, or you're successful in some kind of creative industry like acting or film or something like that, media, but yet you've not got the spiritual part right, you lose yourself spiritually and you become spiritually shipwrecked, then what good is that? So this is the idea behind these areas. In every year, I've got it here. I kind of take stock and I look at what did I want to achieve in these areas last year, and then what do I want to achieve next year. I spend time doing that throughout the month of December, especially sometimes I take 2 or 3 days and I just spend time looking at that and praying into it and talking to the Lord about the purpose of my life and all of that. So those areas: spiritually, relationally, physically, mentally, financially, calling, and fun. And I have a little PDF that kind of walks you through this and a little teaching and stuff. So if you want those notes, just simply drop a little thing for our team. And don't do it in the comments, though. They said that's hard for them to do because of the system. If you can email admin@club1040.com, admin@club1040.com, and then put in the subject line goals. And what I call for myself personally, because I lived, my purpose statement is I live to make God smile. As I was going through these 7 areas this time, I realized, you know what, these are like milestones that I want to like achieve throughout the year or in the decades to come. So I'm like, I'm going to call them smile stones. So these are my 7 smile stones that I'm sharing with you, and that help create balance in life. And I encourage you that if you want more information about that, just send a little thing there, like that said there, to admin@club1040.com. But so let's talk a little bit about some of the questions that were raised. This is live Q&A. And one of these questions was, do my arms hurt? My triceps are so sore. Because even though I'd done the 3,000 push-ups in September, I haven't done I got burnt out. I haven't done any push-ups in all of October or November. So this is a restart for me. Thank you to those that partnered, because you have got me back into the flow of doing it. And so that was helpful to me, and you helped me in ways that you'll never know. But I was thinking, man, if we hit that goal of 13,000 push-ups by the end of the year, I would be like, man, I probably would have to get new clothes, because I would have changed my chest size and my arm size so much. Okay. Yes, they're sore, but I wish they would have been more sore than they are, obviously. Thank you to everyone that did partner, though. Okay. What's the first thing you look for when you land in a country? Well, it kind of depends. Sometimes it's, first thing I look for is a toilet. Let me think. Toilet first, then immigration, passport. So I need my passport. I'm looking for that. Let's see. Then my bags. You go through immigration, then the customs. You pick up your bags, go through customs. Then if I need currency to change cash, even though it's expensive to do in the airports, it's more expensive to do it before you get to airports, and it's also easier. Sometimes in countries you can do it outside on what they call the parallel market, the black market, and in some places that's actually accepted practice. So it's not really illegal. It's a part of, that's why they call it a parallel market. It's not really illegal. And that's the best way to do it. So like, for example, if I was doing it in Lebanon, I would never change money in the airport in Lebanon. So you kind of need to know those things. Other places, it's a good place to do it. You get some cash, and especially if you're going to need it like immediately after you get out of the airport, you got to think about that. If I don't have a SIM, this used to be more challenging. So here's like a travel tip. So some phones now have dual SIMs, but if you get an updated iPhone in the US, they no longer have the little SIM tray. And because we have an office in the UK, the last time I upgraded my iPhone was right after they changed that in the US. And so I had to get my iPhone in the UK so that I could have a little SIM tray. And there's some airports where as soon as you get off the plane and you start going outside you make your way outside the customs side, you got your bags and you come out. Then right after that, there's little kiosks where they sell SIM cards. And you just go up and you buy a SIM card and you put it in your phone, and you've got then data at the cheapest way to do it. So you're not using your international plans. I do have an international plan, so if I have to, it's cheaper than if it was like no plan, which would be ridiculous. But some countries, they don't have those partnerships. There's some countries, it's crazy where because the country phone line and all that kind of stuff is run by the government and the government doesn't pay its bills, then they don't have plans with certain American carriers, and they won't do that. So you got to figure out, sometimes you have to have a SIM card in that country. And now though, more and more phones are just eSIMs. So like on my phone, I have an eSIM for my US number. So I carry that everywhere, and I can data roam if I need to, and I can use it roaming if I need to, if the country has those agreements. And then I can use a SIM card, a real SIM card, but I can also do 2 eSIMs. So more and more, there are these companies that you can look up that you can use an eSIM where you pay a fee in, if you're American, in dollars, in British, in pounds, wherever you're at. And then you can, whatever country you go to, you can use that as a digital eSIM wherever you go. Usually you can't make calls on that, and that's where you get into problems. So for example, sometimes local apps, like in a particular Middle Eastern country, I'm thinking of, everything they do with apps on their phones. And the problem is you have to have a local number in that country in order to register on those apps. And the eSIM does, for some of them, the eSIMs won't do it, and you can't use your international number for someone. So those are some of the dynamics. Anyway, so sometimes I get a SIM card, and what I do, someone suggested maybe coffee. Sometimes I try not to drink as much caffeine when I'm flying. Probably the first thing I do after I get a taxi and I get to the place where I'm going is try to get a shower, because traveling is gross. Okay. Ever mix up languages while traveling? Another great question. I'll finish with this for this month's live Q&A, and then share a few prayer points and things. So one time, I think Jonathan was like maybe 4 or 5 years old at the time, and I was with another American pastor leader, and we had 80 young people come over to, this is when we pastored in England. We had 80 young people come to England, and we split them into 2 teams. One went to Germany and one went to France. I think I'm remembering this right. France. Where's it? Italy. Might have been Italy. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it was Italy. Yeah, Germany and Italy. And we had, because I'm the pastor leader, I visited both countries. So we've been in Germany, and now we're in Italy, and we have to get to the airport to drop this pastor off to return back to the US. And our rental car breaks down, and we're in Italy in the middle of nowhere, countryside, and I'm calling the number for roadside assistance, and I don't speak Italian. Yes. I was like most American tourists. I was trying to use a little bit of Spanish in there to try to do a little bit of Italian, a little bit of Spanish to try and make ends meet, a little bit of English. And but the problem is he was asking, the person on the phone was asking, where am I? And I kept saying Strasse, which is the German word for street, as opposed to the Italian one, like Strauss's street in German. What's the Italian word right now? Via, I think, in Italy. So instead of saying like Via something or other, I was saying Strauss something or other. And the Italian guy was like, I don't understand what you're saying. And I'm like, in my mind, and we hadn't slept much the whole time. And I was just like, why is this person not understanding? I'm speaking to him in his language. I'm saying the road in the right. And then it wasn't until after I hung up the phone, after we finally kind of figured something out, that I'm like, that I realized, the whole time I was using German word for the road as opposed to the Italian word for the road. So anyway, yes, things like that happen where you mix up words, especially when you are non-proficient in languages as we are, and you've traveled to a lot of places. Okay. Loads of things like that. A lot of other great questions we'll get to later the next time we do a Q&A. I've got the number here. So 272. Thank you to every partner. That's $272 per month of new partnership that's coming in. And, that's over $3,000 a year. Thank you so much to all of you. That means I think I did 260 push-ups. I think I need to do 12 more push-ups to meet that goal. And like I said, the person that gave a one-time gift of 800, I'm going to use that as incentive too. So thank you so much to you for that. November, we flew in from the Middle East directly into Kentucky, and there was a 3-day mission conference that we were able to take part in there. I was the main speaker, but then our Julie and our team, Madison and Christy, were all there, and they did a phenomenal job with the children's area, ministering to children. There's been somewhere around 20,000 children that have been inspired by the books and the curriculum that has recently gone out, the 4-week curriculum that went out. I don't know, there's like maybe somewhere around 40 churches or something that now have access that curriculum. Maybe it's probably more than that now. But anyway, so then we went from Kentucky. We drove down to this sort of Sarasota area of Florida. We ministered on the Sunday in Tampa and a church there, then on a Wednesday. And then we drove, because what happened is our team drove the ministry vehicle from Oklahoma out to Kentucky. They flew back. Thankfully, this is when all the airports were having all the problems because the government shut down, and it took them well into the early hours to get back because of all the delays and things. And I'm so glad that problem continued throughout. So we would have had those same things. So thankfully we had the vehicle. We drove from Kentucky to Florida, then from Florida back to Oklahoma. And then we had Giving Tuesday. Oh no, then I forget. Then we had our final church. We set a goal to do 30 churches this year and 37 scheduled with us. We went over our goal, and we just completed the 37th church at Cornerstone Church in Midwest City, Oklahoma. Pastors Ron and Carol McKee, they are amazing. They have been partners of Club 1040 since before they pastored that church. They pastored in Elma, Arkansas before that. They were partner churches there, and they've been partner all that time. I think probably 28 or 29 years of the 30 years that we've been overseas, they've been partners almost the entirety of 3 decades. That's incredible. We say Club 1040's mission statement is a relational missionary movement reaching the unreached. Relationships are what makes God's purposes accomplish in the earth. This is a great example of it. They have not only been partners for 3 decades nearly, but they've also been in the top giver tier of Club 1040 during that time. At times they're in the top 2 or 3, and other times they're in the top 5 or 6 throughout the last 30 years. That's huge. So you think about if that one relationship wasn't there, how we would have been hampered from achieving some of the purposes of God. It just takes 2 or 3 relationships to not be in the mix, and suddenly we're not able to achieve so many things that God has done through Club 1040. And it's true moving forward. What are the relationships that God's calling to come into the mix, into the Club 1040? What is a club? A club's a group of like-minded people who come together around a common purpose and mission. So who are the relationships God's calling together to come into alignment with this common purpose and mission of reaching the unreached across 22 countries, the Middle East, North Africa, by the year 2030? We need to see the support, the equivalent support of about $20,000 extra dollars a month coming in as we move forward. We've this last year with all the travel and everything, we set a goal of 30,000 extra, and we saw 10,000 extra come in. I'm using approximate numbers, and so we're about 20,000 more to go. And if we achieve our partner goals, we get a long way towards those. If everybody does their part, not asking for anybody to do something that they shouldn't do or go beyond what they should do, but if everybody does their part, then we can work God's plans will be established. So if you, as you're praying throughout this year and you think, oh, you know what? I feel like God wants us to partner significantly. And by significantly, I mean from your heart, partner, not just give, but partner significantly then go on our website, clifton40.com, and check out if you're an organization, which means a church, a business, a foundation. Foundations are some of our biggest donors now. Churches would be the second biggest donors. And then individuals make up a significant amount. And you think, we're just saying if 300 people give $300 a month, that puts us a long way towards that goal that we're endeavoring to achieve in order to have the strength from which to expand across the Middle East and North Africa. We're taking huge steps this next year. There's several countries that we've done some expansion activity in. There's new buildings being built that we're being a part of. There's new campuses being established. There's expanding and mobilizing teams. There's setting up there's at least 4 legal entities that we're setting up as we move into the new year to enable us to be able to facilitate work within countries. Some are creative access countries or limited access countries, so we're not creating a ministry. Others are ministries, depending on the country. Sometimes you can't do that legally. So anyway, we were in Oklahoma, 3 services on the Sunday. They did the children's area for 2 of those services as well. And we're so thankful to the McKees and to you as partners. So it's pretty cool to have had these opportunity to visit these 37 churches. We don't normally do that. We're not normally in the States that much to be able to do that. But as we transition from one location to another, this was a great window of time to be able to do that. And as we look forward to 2026, one of the prayer points there is the other reason why we're here in the country at this point too is because of visas. We've used up our visas for a particular country we're relocating to, so we needed to be in the States for a little while to formalize some of the things that need to happen in order for us to be able to do visas. So anyway, there's prayer points as well. Wisdom and favor for these legal authorities, working with the lawyers and all the different things that we have to do there, that we have favor with them. And then also as we come to Christmas time, a number of our teams are doing outreaches locally. Like, for example, in Lebanon, they're doing incredible outreach there, and they'll make contact with literally thousands of people who don't know Jesus. And so be praying for them as they do outreaches and expansion. But also from a prayer perspective, a great prayer point is for the teams to get some really good soul rest. Talking about this balance that I talked about at the beginning, and that they would be strengthened with all might in their inner man. You pray for them to be strengthened as Paul prays for the church at Ephesus, because we try to carve out a little bit of rest time for people. They work so hard. Usually when you're overseas, especially if you're American working overseas, you have 2 shifts. You've got a shift where you're in country working, and then as soon as that begins to finish, then your partner side of the ministry begins to wake up, and you have to begin to interact with people in the States. And so you kind of do 2 shifts. You're working 2 or 3 jobs, doing 2 or 3 shifts to be able to fulfill the purpose that God's mandated you to fulfill. And every person that contributes a little something makes it easier. So anyway, I want to say thank you so much for helping to lift our hands and make it easier for us. Each one of you are such a blessing, and we appreciate it. If you haven't got a hold of the 30 years, as we said, we're finishing our 30 years of celebration. We did this magazine that covers 30 years, and it has a lot of great information in it and stories. And then these QR codes go to things like podcasts where we tell stories, kind of like some of the stories I told earlier today. So thank you for your great questions. Until next month, which will be actually next year. Can you believe it? From all the team at Clifton 40. Hey, by the way, you should be receiving a Christmas card from us. If you don't receive a Christmas card from us, the team got together. I mean, I saw pictures. There were probably 20 people or more. Kind of Oh, not quite, but almost, licking the stamps, packing the things, folding the things together and getting them all ready to send out. I think they send out today or tomorrow. So you should be getting a Christmas card in the mail pretty soon. If you don't get one within the next few days, send us your address. It's possible we don't have your address. And if you think, I don't know if you have our address or not, send it anyway to admin@club1040.com, because then send your cell number, send your email address, and your phone. Well, it'll be in your email if you send it by email to admin@club1040.com. ADMIN, admin@club1040.com. Okay. Thank you so much. That's this year's, a whole year, 2025, Facebook Live, Q&A, closeout. God bless you.